everyone. Looks like we have a quorum, so we will go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I know everyone is very busy. Today, in our customer training webinar, we're going to be focusing on taking a deeper dive into spending projections and how you can leverage Northspire cash flows. So just quickly, here at Northspire, we are here to support you and your development goals. Every account with us has a dedicated real estate transformation consultant who you can kind of think of as your personalized support and day-to-day resource as you work towards adopting our software and workflows. In addition to that, we also have our customer concierge help desk. They have an average of a 5-minute time to getting you a response. And if you wish to self-educate, you should check out our knowledge base. It's basically a Northspire wiki with over 350 articles. As we continuously update the product, we are also updating the knowledge base, so really recommend checking that out. Just to introduce myself really quickly, my name is Kara, and I am a real estate transformation consultant over at Northspire. I'm local to the New York City area, and prior to joining the company, my background was actually in development consulting and MEP engineering. So pleased to see all of you here and looking forward to walking you through our cash flows. So just quickly, some upcoming training sessions that we are running throughout the month of April. In particular, on April 17th, we have the Northspire 101 session, which is focused on the framework for modernizing your development process. This is great if you are one of our newer customers still kind of trying to get the hang of Northspire, or if you have a new member of your team who is new to Northspire and you'd like to kind of help them learn. So a quick agenda for today, we will go over what exactly are cash flows, where the data from Northspire cash flows comes from, how you can sync your actuals with your pro formas, some quick product and feature updates, and if we have any time remaining, we can open it up to questions and answers. So some key learning outcomes that I hope that you will walk away with at the end of today's session are an understanding of Northspire's cash flow projections feature, how you can seamlessly integrate your actuals with your pro forma, and how you can provide greater visibility to your internal team as well as your external partners, lenders, and stakeholders. So feel free to log in and follow along. I'm going to present a few slides and then going to jump into a demo that you can kind of click along with me. So just what are cash flow projections? A cash flow projection is a forward-looking estimate as to what a project spend will be on a monthly basis. You can use Northspire cash flow projections in order to drive more predictable outcomes on your project, also impress your financial partners and lenders, and most importantly, make sure that your project remains well capitalized and moving forward by making effective budget planning decisions. So just quickly, the inputs that you would need to get started with cash flow is pretty simple. One is a timeline for your project, your total anticipated cost or total revised budget, a curve type, and any future projections. Those are optional, but I will walk you through how you can use those in cash flows. The outputs that you can expect to receive from these are a tracking of your cumulative spend to date, cash flow projections, an Excel export of this pro forma that actually syncs your cumulative spend state with your projections, and the availability to save and reload previous projections. In particular, the last two are particularly valuable since cash flows are actually changing on the day-to-day and are not a static feature. It's very valuable to be able to kind of see what your cash flow predictions were in the past without opening the Pandora's box of different spreadsheets, version control, and human error. So I'm going to jump into a quick demo. Please feel free to log in and follow along with me. So I'm here in the portfolio manager of a project, and this is kind of the page that you see when you log into Northspire. The way that we like to think of it is a bird's eye view across your portfolio in aggregate. So here I have my total approved budget, total anticipated costs, and unit costs for my entire portfolio. And then if I scroll down, I can see some kind of quick stats associated with each of those projects in the portfolio. You may have seen this graph before and wondered where it came from. This is pulling directly from our cash flows feature. I'll show you how to navigate here and kind of how to get started. So first, we're going to choose the project that we wish to work within by clicking on the blue hyperlink. So once this loads, it's going to take us to our project dashboard, which is very similar to the portfolio dashboard, except we're focused on that one project. So here I'll see quick stats as far as my budget and contracts go, as well as a larger snip of this data from cash flow projections. If I wish to navigate to cash flow projections from within Northspire, I'm simply going to go up to the top nav bar. And in the upper left corner, under financials, I'm going to click on cash flow, which will take me to the future. So before we get started in cash flows, I kind of want to go over qualitatively how it works, and then we can delve more into detail. So here in Northspire cash flows, if you scroll down, you will see basically a direct reproduction of the budget structure that you are using in your anticipated cost report. Before we mention those input and output parameters, so here I have start and end dates for each budget line, as well as a curve fit that will fit the distribution of the spend of that budget line. This total anticipated cost, as well as the balance remaining, are pulling directly from your anticipated cost report. So what Northspire cash flows will do is assume that the balance remaining will be spent from today until the ending date that you have specified for that budget line, according to the distribution that you have selected for the curve fit. So if I wish to update any of those parameters, I can simply click into one of the blue items. Anything blue is hyperlinked within Northspire. And from this page, I can change the start date, the end date, or the best fit curve type. If the best fit curve type is actually a line, I do have the availability to adjust the slope of that line. And just clicking update would refresh that information in cash flows. If I wish to see either the cumulative spend to date or the cash flows for a single budget line, I can simply navigate over to this icon on the right and see that information presented to me in table and graphical format. What we have in the left is our actuals or cumulative spend to date, and under projected, that represents a cash flow projection. Displayed graphically, anything to the left of the line would be considered your cumulative spend to date. The blue line represents today in April, so anything to the right of the line is projected cash flow. And if you wish to ever drill in deeper to either of those values, you can simply hover over the bar and see the totals that are associated with that month for that budget line. Also just want to quickly touch on the difference between actuals funded and actuals invoiced. Your actuals funded represent the requisition periods that you have on the project, whereas the actuals invoice represents the dates on the invoices that you have for that month. So you can see that data presented both ways. If I wish to turn on the invoice, I just click here. You can hover over those as well. So Northspire is doing this for each budget line and aggregating them in order to produce your total cash flows on the project. If I wish to see that, I can simply navigate over to this display table view right here. And I can see at the bottom grand totals for each month on the project to date. You may have noticed this little pin icon next to some of the items of the budget lines within the project. What we call pinning in Northspire is what you might call hard coding at your organization. The use case for pinning or hard coding would be an instance where you have like some large degree of certainty about what the projected spend will be for a certain budget line in the future. So if I did wish to hard code an item in Northspire cash flows, I would want to simply scroll over to a date that is from the future. And I can simply click into the blue hyperlink, set a value I wish to pin, and hit apply. If I have a pinned value that I wish to revert to the actual cash flow projection, I can simply click this icon over here on the right to reset to the default projection value. And you can see that any of these values that have pins next to them are hard-coded projections, whereas any values without pins are simply Northspire generated cash flow projections. When you do pin a value within Northspire, that will then affect your balance remaining for that budget line, and our cash flow projections will reforecast around your pinned value. Just really quickly, you might notice that there are two values for April, one in green and one that is in blue. Just want to kind of call your attention to what those represent. So in blue, the $50,000 is the Northspire default cash flow projection that we are predicting as far as what your spend will be for the architect of record for the month of April 2024. However, in green, we have 0, and what that represents is your actual spend to date. So the way the cash flow projections work is that both pinned values and Northspire generated projection values will revert to the actuals at the conclusion of each month. So if I continue to spend $0 for this budget line, this will simply hold a 0 by the time that we reach May, and our cash flow projections will reforecast around that value. So it's a great opportunity to be able to sync your actual costs that you are loading into your anticipated cost report and into Northspire with your projections of where your spend might go in the future, and to use Northspire really as a single source of truth for all of that data. In my experience in development in the past, often the actuals and the projections were stored on separate spreadsheets. Merging the two could be difficult since what we were using for actuals was often lagging information in the first place, and really just opened up a lot of human error, version control issues, and things like that. So it's very nice to be able to have all of this information in the same place and to be able to distinguish what is a hard-coded value from a projected value. This data is also exportable to Excel, so you can provide this data to your partners and lenders, or if you do have some sort of internal pro forma, you can kind of format that to accept data directly from Northspire. And you can also filter. So let's say, for instance, that you only want to see your cash flows associated with your hard costs. This would be where you would do that. Simply clicking in, I could choose the categories that I wish to see and filter by. And just quickly, I'm going to show you exactly what the Excel export of our cash flows looks like. So this is what you could expect to receive if you were to export directly to Excel, a very clean version of your cash flows that you can refer to at any time, and grand totals at the bottom for each month. In addition, cash flows, you can see them contextualized as per different time periods. Monthly is the most common. You have the optionality to see them as a function of quarterly cash flows or as semi-monthly cash flows. You can also choose to see your cash flows as a function of either the balance remaining on your total anticipated cost or on the balance remaining of your total revised budget. Just quickly want to kind of draw your attention to what the difference is between those two. The balance remaining as per the total anticipated cost would factor in any exposures or unrealized costs from the anticipated cost report, whereas your balance remaining as per the total revised budget would simply be the budget that you started your project with. So what I've often seen is internally, the cash flows are kind of analyzed as a function of the total anticipated cost, while what is circulated externally is often the cash flow as a function of the total revised budget. So we give you the flexibility to choose how you'd like to see that information presented to you. Just want to quickly scroll up and kind of show you the graph that we produced when looking at cash flows as well. So I know that we looked at the cumulative spend and the projected cash flow on a per budget line basis previously. The graphs at the top are displaying that for all budget lines in aggregate. So similarly, anything to the right of the line that says April 2024 is a projection for the future. The line is representing today, and anything to the left would be a cumulative spend to date. In this instance, I'm only seeing what's been funded per each requisition, but if I did wish to see it cumulative spend as per the invoices dated, I would just click that on here. You can also generate an S-curve that's displayed here. Similarly, anything to the right is cash flow, anything to the left is a cumulative spend to date, and hovering over either of these will kind of let you see what those totals are from here. If you wish to save and insert these graphical projections into any of your reporting, you can do that from here. Simply click over here, and you can download the image in multiple formats. And most importantly, from this feature, you can choose to save and load previous projections. As we mentioned before, cash flows are consistently changing and not static. So very nice to be able to, one, sync your actuals with your pro forma, but two, to be able to see where you thought you would be in the past with where you actually are. That's where saving and reloading projections comes in. So if I wish to save a projection, I would simply click here. I can name my projection, etc. And if I wish to reload a previous projection, I would simply click on Load Projections. In this case, I have one saved projection called Initial Draw Schedule, so I'll just choose to display that here. And something that is really cool about this feature is, one, the actual tabulated cash flows will change to the saved projection data, so that can be exported to Excel. But two, you can choose to see the graphs with it overlaid. So that's basically how you get started in Northspire cash flow projections. Just quickly, some quick product and feature updates that I wanted to give to you. So later in this year, we are working on integrating our cash flows with sources, as well as enabling you to report on cash flows across your portfolio. So not just for one project. In my experience as a real estate transformation consultant, some really interesting use cases of cash flow have been tracking net operating income against spend to eventually predict when cash neutrality would occur, or also using it in conjunction with sources in order to kind of figure out when you need to reach certain funding milestones. So when do you need to do a capital call? When do you need to close on financing? With the new updates coming forth, now is a great time to get started with cash flow so that you are well positioned in order to kind of take advantage of all these new functionalities that we're adding. I highly encourage you to reach out to your real estate transformation consultant today to get started. Looks like we have some extra time, so I will leave it open to any questions and answers, if there are any. Is there anything, so it's been shy, is there anything you can share now with sources and uses? So directly, not in cash flow, what I like to do is just kind of use the sources and source transactions separately, and kind of see, what will be the balance of the source according to cash flows on this date and go from there. But we are working on the functionalities to be able to overlay them. Any more questions? Okay, well, thank you for your time, everyone. Please reach out to your real estate transformation consultant to get you started in cash flows. Often what we need to get started is really just those start and end dates and a curve tape for all those budget lines. So a very quick setup process, and looking forward to kind of getting you integrated within the future, and getting your pro formas and actual synced. Thank you for your time today, everyone. Have a good one.